Welcome back, brick fans. This is Terrascal Bricks. I am going to show you a single video of what the wash process involves after I have done a full sortation of the Legos into various boxes. And again, they're almost 100% pure Lego. Yes, we might have dropped a few of the non-Legos in there or missed a few of non-Legos from the sortation process, but the likelihood, I guarantee you I'm in the 99 percentile for Lego for all of the ones that I have, considering, it was mostly all that to begin with. And then, that first sortation process usually takes care of getting rid of most of the rest of them, which ends up being the Goodwill box or trash, depending upon the condition of the bricks. And then this process is the process after the sortation process where we clean the Legos, and then that way we can either sort them, in for personal use, sell them on eBay, on Bricklink, etc. This all depends upon what you'd like to do. So I'll show you a quick inventory of the items you'll need for this, the way I do it anyway. Obviously, the box of Legos. First things first, you gotta have the Legos that you're gonna want to clean. And again, nothing in here that is electronic in any way, something that could rust typically or get damaged by water, because we will be soaking these bricks for a single day before even cleaning them by hand. So what I'm going to do is after you've got your bricks, obviously, you'll need a bowl of some sorts. This is multi-purpose. One helps scoop the Legos out in bulk. You could do it by hand too, it doesn't matter. But I use it to help scoop Legos out by bulk and dump it into a bucket. So you need a pretty good sized bucket, which let me show you over here what I've got. I've just got a, typical Tidy Cats litter bucket that has been washed many, many times and is pretty much purely clean now. So back to the box. After the bucket, the other thing you'll need is a toothbrush for later for the cleaning process. I use a colander. For rinse and rinse within the shower tub and everything, to rinse the bricks after they've been soaked in soapy water. So basically what happens is I scoop the bricks up into the bucket over there to my left, and then they sit there for a day. They soak in that bucket for a day with Dawn soap, which I will show you as well. I use nothing but Dawn soap. That's the only thing I use. So I will put Dawn soap in with the bucket, dump the bricks in there, put water in there almost up to the entire fill line, and then shake it a little bit, give a little bit of agitation, and then I will let it sit there for a day. And then when we come back tomorrow to start this, I use this bowl then as my soaking bowl. So I'll dump the bricks out from the bucket onto a tray, which is here. So you'll need a tray of some sort. So I dump a number of bricks out onto this tray from the bucket, and then I scrub them with the toothbrush using the soapy water from the bucket, and then they end up in this bowl, which I'll fill with some clean water just as a pre-soak before the rinse. And then when I get this bowl full, I take it, put it into the colander within the tub along with the shower and rinse, and I spray the bricks down real good with the water until I feel like all the soap's gone. And then I shake this out real good, try to dry it up as much as possible. And then I basically place the bricks onto this table, which you have seen before, kind of I was using as my sortation table, but I'll place it on the table with the towel to dry off. And then that process usually takes another day. So in total, it's about a 2-day process for these bricks to be cleaned, because you need a day for soak and a day for dry. And then I'll turn on my ceiling fan, help out with getting rid of the water on the bricks and everything. Sometimes what I'll do, and you'll see this too towards the end of the video, I'll take the bricks and I'll tap them just after they come out of the, after I get them out of the colander, and I'm going to set them up to dry, to get rid of water that's trapped inside of the bricks. The water really likes to get trapped up inside of bricks, especially within the within the center circles of a number of these bricks. And you'll see all that. Well, I'll show you all that as we come up. But I just wanted to give a brief overview. So again, inventory-wise, bricks, bucket, bowl for soaking, and, you know, I use it to scoop, but you can use your hands, whatever. A tray to place the bricks on for cleaning that also can catch water on the edges from anything that comes out of them as I'm cleaning them. Colander for rinse, toothbrush for scrub, and and then a drying table. And that's basically it. That's all you'll need for this wash process, because I do it all by hand. I personally do not feel that there's any other better process than doing it by hand. And the reason for that is pieces like this with marks on them and stuff, I can use my, you know, once they've soaked for a day, I can use my fingernail and the toothbrush in the soapy water, and typically these marks will go away. And the result is usually very, very nice. Yeah, sometimes I can't get everything off mark wise, or what's inside bricks. If it's real deep in there, I can't get it out all with the toothbrush. But for the most part, almost all the bricks come completely clean, and that's what's important. So first things first, we're gonna scoop a number of these bricks into the bucket to my left, and then I will fill that bucket. I'll show you filling up the bucket with soapy water, and then when we come back tomorrow, when I continue this video tomorrow, we'll start the actual scrub process. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this with bricks, and then dump it into my bucket over here, which, let me adjust the camera view to kind of catch the whole process. Yeah, there we go. All right, so I take my bucket of Legos and just dump it inside the bucket. And you can get the bucket as close to full as you want. You know, if you've got a lid on it and stuff like I do, it helps. So then I just close the lid. We'll take this to the shower, which I will cut to here in a minute. And I'll just basically fill it up with, you know, throw some Dawn soap on top of those bricks, fill it up with hot water. I do start with hot water. And then we'll revisit this tomorrow and actually start scrubbing some of the bricks. Now, what I didn't include in here, obviously, is some of the electronic bricks. You know, again, there's no electronic bricks or anything like that in here that could get damaged. But when I go to do the scrub process, I'm going to actually show you how I clean the electronic ones. And then I'll give you some other pointers on things like the Duplo bricks and everything else. Because the Duplo bricks, you know, again, I've heard that other people can, they'll use the dishwasher to clean their Legos. Which, again, I find... One, I don't know how that really works, because there's lots of little pieces in here. How do you not get that down into your dishwasher pumps and everything? And it's not like you can use a filtration bag, because they're not going to come very clean. I figured the scrub process, they'll definitely do a better job than that. Second thing is temperature. You know, I don't imagine that these bricks can handle high temperatures. You know, yes, I know that you can adjust the temperature settings on a dishwasher. If somebody's had success with that, doing it that way, let me know. But the way I've been doing it literally is by single-handedly scrubbing every brick. Yes, it's time consuming, but the attention to detail and the amount of cleanliness you get afterward, I feel it's rewarding enough. You know, and I definitely take breaks from the wash process. Trust me. There is no way I'm going to be doing those 4 boxes you saw in my final results video, all back to back to back to back. The wash process for me takes months, because I eventually, it hurts my back. You just get tired of it. It is not a fun process, but I do believe the end result, the end result definitely makes up for the reasoning. So anyway, I'm gonna cut this here. I'm gonna show you me filling the bucket in the shower, in the tub, and then it'll be a day, and we'll cut to the next day, and then we'll go from there. All right. Okay, so we're here in the bathtub. Ignore the baby blue bathtub. This house was built in the 1970s. It's got some funky colors in it. It's something that my wife and I plan on renovating at some point in the future. But yeah, so we're in the tub with the bucket of Legos. And so basically what we're going to do is I'm just going to take some Dawn soap and I'm just going to spread it all over those bricks in there, just so we get a nice soapy, a nice soapy cover. Stick it underneath the faucet, turn the faucet on to hot. Not too hot, not burning hot, but hot enough, warm enough. And then I like to spread the water over the soap, get the soap all mixed in. And then I just let that fill up. And once it fills up with water to almost the very top, I will give this bucket a couple shakes with the lid closed to kind of agitate the soap more. And then we let it sit for a day. You can see the soap starting to come up through the bricks now. And as I don't know if everyone knows, but as most people know, the Legos start to float, so you'll start to see the whole thing shift upwards, which it's doing now. Looks like we're about there. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and shut the water off. Move the bricks over, go ahead and close the lid. Really shake it. All right, that's it. We give it a day, come back tomorrow, and we'll start the scrub process so you can see that. All right, bye. All right, so it's the next day, and we're getting ready to actually wash some of the Legos. So you see here, I have a bucket off to the right there. Now, depending upon which view I end up placing this on YouTube, I guess this bottom right. That's our bucket from yesterday. What you can do, and what I've done, is I have emptied this of the water that was inside of it from last night, just this morning, and refilled it again with new sudsy water. And the reason for that is two reasons. One, the water will turn very cold overnight, room temperature. I like it a little warmer, obviously, when I'm washing. It's your preference. You can do whatever you want. And then the other reason is because then it makes the water sudsy again. After sitting for a day, Dawn soap, will tend to lose the suds. And yeah, you could still clean with that water, scrub with that. I just feel like with the sudsiness of it, it does a better job of getting in, small locations, things along that nature. So all I did was empty the bucket carefully, obviously, so as not to lose any Legos, and then refilled it again, just like we did last night with Dawn soap and warm water. So bucket's open. Typically, I turn the bucket so that's aimed like this, and as I sit here, and I'm going to bring the table a little closer now. And let me see what my view looks like. Let's move it more towards here. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Oh, there's one other thing I forgot to do. I forgot to go get my bowl of water. Give me a second. I'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. So as you can see, I've got that bowl here that I used to scoop the Legos with earlier. And it is just filled with cold, clean water. That's all this bowl is. And so what I end up doing is I'll take a couple handfuls of Legos from down here in the bucket, put them here on this tray, and then wash them, scrub them with the toothbrush, and then throw them individually into this bowl till the bowl's about full. Then that's what we do. We use the colander, and my wife, she heard me last night incorrectly saying coriander, which apparently is a flower. I knew what I meant. I just apparently wasn't saying it right. So I'll probably make fun of myself in the edit. But yeah, The colander, we will use the colander to, you know, rinse the Legos afterward in the shower. Again, I'll show you all that here in a second. First things first, Duplo pieces. Let's discuss Duplo pieces. So these Duplo pieces, again, I mentioned earlier that I don't know how people can use the dishwasher to clean Legos. Because of the fact that the pieces, you know, might not withstand some of the heat, and they tend to be tiny. How do you keep them from going down the pump drain or losing them, things along that nature? That's not necessarily an issue with Duplo pieces. I can very much see people placing Duplo pieces within a dishwasher and them turning out to be just fine. Because they're thicker, they can withstand a little bit more torture, obviously for the, you know, reason that they're 2 to 4 year old, I think, play. And there's no necessarily risk in losing anything because these are way too big to go down any sort of drain. So I can see somebody doing that with Duplo pieces. So I just want to discuss that with Duplo pieces. Again, if you have a way of doing this washing process with the dishwasher, let me know. Just because I can't see it. I can't see it. First things first, before we start the wash process, I wanted to show you what I end up doing with some of the more sensitive Legos. We'll go ahead and start with the Lego hub. We'll do a motor, and we'll do like one of these wind up Legos. So typically all I do with these is I take my toothbrush. Let me make sure I've got a view of the bucket. Little bit. Doesn't have to be, but I take the toothbrush. View's still good. I want to make, yeah, this is more important. Take the toothbrush, I dip it into the bucket, swirl it around. You know, get it soapy like this, and I'll scrub the outside of it. Because this little amount of water is not going to hurt nothing as long as there's no batteries on the inside of this unit. So I just do this, you know, just to get a little bit of soap, and you know, if the piece is really dirty, unfortunately, this is all you're going to be able to do to it. Because again, we don't want to damage it. We don't want to get anything going on with the wrong with the electronics. And you know, we don't want to get water in small places and then turn the unit on and it break on us. Because again, this is like worth $80. And we definitely don't want that. So we will not end up throwing that in here to soak afterwards. So then what I do is I take my toothbrush and I dip it in the clean water, and I go back over it one more time with the toothbrush with the clean water. Just gently. You know, again, water's not going to penetrate sensitive locations, and I know I'm not really scrubbing all that much, but again, this piece isn't very dirty. I'm just making sure that it's sanitary as well. That's the other thing you're doing. Cleaning, sanitary. So once we've got this all pretty much covered, you know, we'll set it over here to dry on the table, on the towel. So that's that. Now with the wind-up type, well, I'll do the same thing with the motor. So the motor, again, you don't want to soak because of the sensitive potential for electronic damage. So we just get it soapy with the toothbrush. Go ahead and get the cable, the end, come back the other direction. These pieces could be a little difficult just because of that. And then again, dip in the clean water, scrub it with the clean water. That'll get rid of any remaining soap residue, most of it anyway. If there's a little bit on there, it's not going to hurt anything. And I know it's not going to be great on this wire, but that's okay. The wire's not necessarily what we're worried about. So once we're done that, put that to the side. So that's how I deal with electronic pieces. Now, wind-up pieces, I could have soaked this probably, but there is the potential for water to get inside there, get all up inside the inside of it, and you know that could lead to rusting or issues later. So what I'll do is I'll soap this all up just like so, same as the electrical ones. Make sure to get all angles, all sides. and then I will drop that into the clean water. But I don't leave it in there for long. Just split second to rinse, come out, put it on the drying towel. And that is how I deal with most of the oddball items that we, you know, the more sensitive items that we end up finding to wash. So I'm going to put that to the side because I'm not going to do all that now. I mostly wanted to show you the wash process for a number of the types of bricks that we have in here. So that is what we're going to do. I'm going to scoot this a little closer. All right, so let me show you. I'm going to scoop a bunch of Legos out of the bucket. A few handfuls going here. Put them on the tray, just like so. All right. And then, nope, did I drop a piece? Yes, I did. I'll have to put that back in the bucket. All right. And then, that tends to happen. You'll tend to drop a piece here or there. It's not a big deal. I tend to start with the bigger piece. Well, it depends. If I feel like the piece could fit in the bowl just fine, I will start with the bigger pieces. If I don't, I'll put the bigger pieces aside and save them for last. It all depends upon the size of the bowl, how well it'll fit in there. Because we want to basically get as much of these in the bowl as possible. So then I start with the scrub process. And again, I just constantly dip my toothbrush into the soapy water. And I scrub, up and down, circular motions. Again, this plate is not that dirty, so you don't have to pay much attention to it, to the cleaning side of it. Get it all soapy, drop it into the clean water. Let it stay there. Do the same thing for all the other pieces. And sometimes you really gotta, move your toothbrush around, swirl it around to get into the crevices. Again, for sanitary reasons, it's not that important that you get every little crevice. You could try, certainly try. But it's not all that critical unless, of course, you've got some foreign material trapped in there. In which case, then you got to use a toothpick or something else to kind of get that out so that you can get your toothbrush in if your toothbrush isn't enough to do it. And again, this is why I like the sudsy water, newly sudsy water, because I can visibly see where I've brushed as a result of that. When you've let the water sit and it's not as sudsy anymore, the water's still clean, it'll still clean, but it's harder visually to see where you might have done already, especially on larger, pieces. But use the toothbrush and I just move it back and forth along the whole brick. Let's see if we'll find some of the various things you might find in here, like marks, things along that nature. We already know that for the most part, 99% of this is Lego. So there is the possibility that I will end up spotting a non-Lego in here, because again, I'm imperfect. Nobody's perfect, so it's very possible. We've solved some pieces fall in there during the sortation process by accident. It happens. But this is the next chance for us to catch any of those non-Lego pieces. And that is what I look for. When I scrub the pieces, I look to make sure they have the Lego logo and that they of course look Lego, aren't damaged, things along that nature, because I could miss it. Oops, and that happens too, slip out of your fingers because, yeah, soap's slippery. But I like to make sure I get pretty much every single side as much as possible. On longer pieces, in long skinny pieces, I'll sometimes skip the ends. It depends on how dirty the brick is. That's typically not the visible portion anyway, but I do, it is clean. That's why the holes, we soak it. And if I spot anything on the ends, I will certainly scrub those more. The reason I do it in this tray, and as you can see, is because I've hand dumped a number of Legos here, some of the water from that was inside the Lego has now moved to the edges, and we don't want that in our laps, on the table, and the towel. So that's why I use like a lid or a tray like this with lips on the end to catch all that. And gradually I'll dump that, which you'll see. And you'll definitely see the water will be dirtier. You'll definitely be able to tell that the water left inside the tray at the end of this is dirtier. So we are, you know, cleaning things off of these Legos, trust me. Not so much brand, you know, some that are brand new, but now very tiny pieces, ones that I could barely hold in my finger, and I basically determined that to be 1 brick size, basically. One brick in length, height, or width. Those pieces I'll tend to just throw into the clean water if I get to them, just because you can't even hold them in your hand barely. They go flying, they slip out of your hand, and to be honest, there's usually so many of those pieces. If one of them's dirty and it's not sellable or not usable after the fact, you just throw it away. Again, I don't want to waste Lego brick. I try. That's what within reason. That's why I let them go through the soak process first, and that usually gets rid of most of the stuff. When I went to go dump this water in the tub, probably should have recorded that, but when I went to dump this water into the tub and then fill it with new water, there was stuff coming out of the water as I was letting it out. Like fuzz and other things that were trapped on some of these bricks that the water, that's the nice thing about the water, it tends to catch that stuff pretty well, which is why I like to use that in the bucket, you know, and then go through the rinse process and all that stuff, because water tends to cling to anything fabric-y. Pull that out. Yeah, so this is the majority of the cleaning process with a toothbrush. Soapy water and then clean water to the right. It is, again, tedious and time-consuming. I can only do about 3 bowlfuls before I'm done. You know, sometimes even 2. It all depends on if it's full of big pieces or little pieces. Big pieces you could get through pretty quickly. And you know, that's always nice. But if there's a bunch of little pieces in there, oh my goodness. And by little pieces, I don't mean the pieces I just pick up and throw in there. I'm talking like, you know, bricks smaller than this size right here. Anything larger than that size, great for cleaning, easy fly through. Because again, more surface area, you can do it quicker. As the bricks are more complex, the smaller they get, the harder they are, the longer they take to wash. So, I can sometimes only get through 2 bowls if I'm running on small bricks, because then it starts getting irritating. And, you know, but this is the process that I use. Not saying it's the best process out there, it's just the process that I use. I'd love to find a process that's better, that pays enough attention to detail to make sure that I get most of the bricks fairly clean, sanitized. And again, if there's a way of doing it with a dishwasher, let me know. But at the moment, I am not inclined to try it. I'm too weary of losing anything. Or, you know, worst case scenario, I break my expensive dishwasher. Or, well, it's not an expensive dishwasher, but it becomes expensive if I have to repair it. So, plates are one of my favorites to wash, just because they're so simple and easy. As you start getting into the more 3D and, again, complicated things, they tend to take a lot more time. You got to get each side, like these, you know, the smaller these get, I get each and every side on these because they're too wide. And what I might do is to keep this video short and somewhat entertaining. I'm probably not going to make you watch this entire process. What I'll probably do is do this fast forward, either fast forward or skip to the end where we go to the next step, which is the rinse. But I don't do that until this bowl here is full. And as you can see, Legos will typically float, but that's because of the air that they trap. Once they lose that air, they will sink. Some of them might still float a little bit, but for the most part, the reason Legos float is because they trap air in their crevices. However, once they lose that air, they will sink. So that's why I gotta sometimes use my hand, you know, swirl this around, push down on the Legos to find out where my depth actually is on the bowl. Because again, I'll fill it up. And then I will go to do the rinse on that group. See, now here we've got a piece trapped inside of another brick, which tends to happen as well. You can use another Lego to get it out, or that screwdriver I was using earlier in the sortation videos, you can use to get it out. You know, as long as you're careful and gentle with it so as not to scratch or break anything. But so far, these Legos are fairly clean. I've had some in a batch that were so filthy. I mean, they'd obviously been taken outside. They had dirt, and I swear one of the Lego boxes I got must have been somebody who either worked or was a child of a dentist, or you know, had access to dental materials. And the reason for that is because I kept finding that putty that they tend to put in the mouth when they're taking, oh goodness, brain work. You know, when they're taking an imprint, thank you. Oh goodness. When they're taking an imprint of your mouth using that putty or clay, I swear I found a ton of it in some bricks, all in the same box. And it was such a pain to get that out, get that cleaned. I ended up having to use, in addition to my toothbrush, I ended up having to use my screwdriver to kind of get most of the bulk of the putty out. Then I would use the toothbrush to finish it up, and between the water and the toothbrush, eventually all came out. Because it just didn't stick to the Lego permanently or anything like that. It just found a crevice and stayed there. But, you know, it all depends upon where you get your Legos, what you find. I haven't found a Lego yet that really has a, so you see, we have them with stickers, and you know, I just do a slight scrub over the sticker. I don't take the sticker off or anything, not unless the sticker's either like almost barely hanging on or like half hanging on. Then I will take the sticker off because it's going to come off anyway. But when it comes to single stickers like that on there, this is okay for doing with the sticker on it, the Lego pieces. As long as you don't leave it soaking in the bucket or in the water for a month or so. At that point, then the sticker starts peeling on the edges. And I do know that for a fact. Because I've left, you know, some Legos in a bucket for too long. The sticker starts peeling on the edges, and then it'll just fall off over time. But surprisingly, the stickers do hold up to this clean process and the water process very well. In that, I think I've only ever lost one sticker, and it was, again, it was because it was already half hanging on, had hair stuck to the other half, so it wasn't even sticky anymore. And the water of it, you know, just got under it and took the rest of it off. Now, if I find a brick, because I haven't found one yet, and maybe we will, again, I'll probably be skipping through a good portion of this video. because you don't need to see every piece or anything like that. But if I find a piece with some marks on it, some scuff marks or pen marks or anything along that nature, what I will end up doing is first I'll scrub it with the toothbrush. If it doesn't come off with the toothbrush, I will then use my fingernail and rub up against the mark. And if it's pen, it'll usually smear a little bit. And once it gets to that point, it smears a little bit, but it lightens up. It does lighten up, but it smears a little bit. I throw it back into the bucket. Let it soak for a little while longer. Hopefully I get it the next day. You know, let the soap work at the ink and marker, ink or marker. They tend to be the same. And I let the soap work at it for another day or so, and then I pull it out and try again. And typically I'll do that to a brick about 3 times before I give up on it. You know, at a certain point, if it doesn't come off anymore after the 3rd time, it's probably permanently on there. There's no recovering it. But for the most part, most inks, most marker will come off the edges of the brick. And that goes for most, you know, other things that you find on the brick as well. You know, they're the only thing that doesn't come off these bricks for the most part are scratches, obviously. And, you know, something that has permanently affected the brick, such as sometimes hot glue. Or not hot glue. Hot glue will always come off in this process. Super glue. You can find a brick that's been warped or eaten away at by the super glue. You could try, you know, we found some of those during the sortation process. They're in here somewhere. You know, if I get to them, I'll point them out. But the water and soap will sometimes help. Sometimes doesn't do any good, and you just have to get rid of the piece because it's not gonna come out well. But anyway, other scuff marks, you know, like rubber scuff marks, things along that nature. My fingernail and thumb, or just using your skin, you know, thumb or pointer finger or something, just rubbing the edge of the brick over and over again like this will get that mark and scuff mark off. And that is what I'll do with any brick that I find that, you know, has one of those type of marks on it. It'll come off, put it into the bowl, and it's good to go. And that's why I do this. Well, a couple, you know, we've already talked about sanitary. That's one of the reasons. And then the other reason, obviously, is because they're cleaned. You know, pretty much guaranteed Lego, cleaned. So they're sanitized. They are free of most scuff marks, things along that nature. Their value increases. That's the whole point. There's no pet hair. There's no, you know, while I do have pets, all of my Legos pretty much are in containers except for my display models. And so, you know, I keep them clean, free of all the hairs and things like that. And that's the other thing. You get rid of all the fuzz, you get rid of all the other stuff. So it makes the Lego usable again as a display or whatever, and hence increases their value on the market, the resale value. Because trust me, people don't want Legos that are you know, full of dirt, marks, things along that nature. They're not going to want to use those. So I just go ahead and clean every piece because it's guarantees that for the most part. That way, you know, if you buy any Legos from me, they're going to be nice Legos. Anything that's not nice, I'll either keep for myself, or again, if it comes to the point where it's not functional, then it gets trashed. As you can see, we're starting to get to the smaller pieces that are more difficult to handle. So this is going to slow up a little bit. There's some hair of some sort. Dip my fingers into the water. That's the other benefit to having the tray with the water on the edges like this one is. Because if I do get like something trapped on my fingers or what while I'm doing this, I could just tap my fingers into that edge water, and it'll stick to that edge water, and that way it'll be able to, I can dump it easily enough here in a little bit and not risk getting that hair back onto my Legos and into my hand again, or other debris. I've scrubbed Legos sometimes and it's sent soap flying, it depends upon, like, it shot, almost to the edge of my table here. It's the nature of the toothbrush. Probably need to get a new stiffer toothbrush at this point. This one's pretty rarely used, as you can see, but for these anyway, it's doing just a fine job. You just want a stiffer one for when you've got a more difficult brick or access to, the nooks and crannies of the interior side of something. Now, obviously, there's only so much you could do, like this piece I had just done. I can't get way down inside of that brick. But people typically aren't going to see that anyway. Most of the times, there's not even stuff down there. It's on the edge, which is why I do this with the toothbrush. And, again, there's only so much you can do. If I had maybe, oh goodness, what are those things called? They're bendy, but they've got like rough edges, but they're thin, and you can slide them in and out of things to clean, like very small, down into things. Oh my goodness, you can use them in school for decorative. I remember using them in elementary school for decoration too. You typically, they almost are like a twist tie because they're that stiff, but they have bristles on the end of it, on all of it for cleaning, and I cannot remember what they're called for the life of me. So maybe I'll look it up and post it as I'm talking about it. Just because my brain's being a turd right now. But it'll probably come to me while I'm in the shower tomorrow, if I don't look it up today. Now, pieces like these, again, this is why I kept them together. They're just easier to wash in a group like this. Trying to wash them individually, almost impossible. But washing them in a group like this, much easier to handle. So that's why I tend to leave those connected when I find them. Our bowl's starting to get full to the point where I can only push, this down so much. I basically, again, fill it to where the level of the water is. So at the point at which I can't push bricks down below the water depth anymore, that is when I consider this full, that bowl full. Sometimes you gotta be very gentle with some of these more delicate bricks, things along that nature, especially if they're already starting to fall apart, but try to get all sides and in all the gaps as much as possible. Again, that's why I do this with the toothbrush on bricks like this, where they're a little too small for the toothbrush to get into the location straight. So I just dab at it with the toothbrush bristles. But once this is done, I mean, you'd be surprised how very nice these bricks look at the end. They tend to look shinier. Obviously, if you're cleaning debris and junk off of them, they definitely improve as a result of that. Marks, things along that nature, of course. But they just tend to look shinier after this process. Makes for a very, looks almost brand new. As if you just had opened a package. The only time it doesn't is if there's something I can't clean off of it. Or, there's stress marks or something along that nature that cannot be handled by the cleaning process. If you hear that tapping, that is me putting the toothbrush into the bucket, swirling it around a little bit, and then hitting the edge to get, you know, a good portion of the water out. So I'm not throwing water everywhere. I'm just trying to get the toothbrush sudsy. That's it. Just trying to keep the toothbrush sudsy as I clean these parts. That's all I'm doing. You don't have to do it for every brick. You don't have to do it, you know, whatever you feel like. The number of bricks doesn't really matter. I tend to do it every few bricks when they're smaller. With the larger plates, I sometimes have to do, you know, 3 or 4 dips into the bucket for very large plates because the soap will only spread so far on the large plates, but it all depends. And for tonight, for just the purposes of this video, I'm only going to do 1 bowl. Unless I could think of some other reason why, you know, of things you might encounter while you're doing the wash process. But really, I think I've discussed pretty much all of the possible circumstances coming out of the bucket. You know, how to deal with it or how I've dealt with it. You know, as we get to these smaller pieces, like I said, a 1 by 1 by 1 is about the smallest I'll end up doing because I can't barely hold the piece anyway. If you've got nimbler fingers, have at it. But sometimes I can't even pick the pieces up off of the tray because they're slippery. So like this little 1 by 1, I just end up throwing there. I examine it, you know, as I pick it up for any issues. And if I find any, then I will do, you know, I will definitely take the toothbrush to it. But for the most part, they're not, you know, rarely do I find those that are, those small pieces that are dirty. It's usually larger pieces. Basically, once they hit the 2 by 1 size and higher, that's when you start getting marks, issues with the bricks. You know, it's really hard to mess up the little bricks for that reason. Less surface area, which is what I'm cleaning. That's all we're dealing with. Surface area. The more surface area a brick has, the more difficult and painful of a process it is. Come on, propeller. I just get as much of the surface edges as possible. That one's done. So, here's the brick. Basically, all of those Legos you saw in my intro video, the ones that are all in the bins, I have cleaned every single one like this. Every single one. It took a while. And these will take a while. This is an insane amount of bricks. 200 some pounds. It's a lot of pieces and bricks that I end up cleaning. But again, I'm doing it to raise the resale value of the bricks for Bricklink or you know, eBay, whatever platform I end up trying to sell these on. Cleaned bricks will sell for more than used, because otherwise other people have to do this process that I'm doing, or they don't. I don't know, you know, but I can imagine if you're an MOC, or you know, if you create your own, make your own creations and have your own Legos and everything, you wouldn't do this, because you've seen some of the stuff that we find in those bulk Lego sortations. There's some nasty stuff in there. Sometimes, you know, you find poop, or at least pieces of poop, or stuff smeared on these bricks. And I tell you what, I'm not going to build with them when they've got that on there. But doing this cleans all that off. I know they're sanitary. And that is what is important to me. And yes, maybe I'm a little OCD when it comes to this stuff. But I know there's a lot of others out there like me. I've seen some of the creations being made on conventions and things along that, which I have yet to attend one. It'd be great to attend one, even with my own items and things along that nature. And maybe we will, you know, at some point in the future. Maybe I can make a video on attending one of those conventions and displaying my models or whatnot. But right now, my health and work, I don't have time for that at the moment. Barely have time for what I'm doing now. You know, again, this process is probably going to take me a couple months to get through all 4 of those large boxes that you saw in my final results video. Just because I have to take breaks from this. I have to. This portion of it drives me insane sometimes, just because of the tediousness nature of doing this portion. I mean, at least with the sortation process, you're always looking for something new. You're always like, I found something new, or encounter something new. Oh, that's cool. I don't know what this is, you know, and go from there. But this process, you've already gone through that. You've seen every single brick. And so this process is not as fun. And that's why I was saying, typically when I'm doing this by myself, I have like Futurama playing in the background, or music, you know, something to kind of keep my mind from basically wanting to never touch a Lego brick again. And as much as I love Lego and bricks in general, that's a hard concept to, oh, look at that. See, we found 2 pieces. That's something I didn't mention. You'll catch the pieces that fell in that were still assembled. So there's 2 pieces that were still assembled that I managed to catch and verify that they're Lego. But anyway, what was I talking? Oh yeah, the tedious nature and whatnot. I don't let it get to me, because then I move on to something else. And that's the whole point. And that's the point of this channel, honestly. Yes, I'm hoping that everybody out there enjoys what they see, they learn, and it's entertaining. You know, of those 3 items, I'll take any one of those. But I'm doing it right now on this process to kind of help with the whole tedious nature of things. Now, granted, you're not going to see any more recordings of me doing the washings, because trust me, the sortation videos didn't bore you to death. Based upon some of the views of some of those videos, I'm guessing that's the case. But you know, again, I think we got a good grouping of what we find in boxes during the sortation with those 17 videos. And again, I was learning how to edit, how to make videos in general. I'm a little better now, not great, but hey, I can add in, you know, pop-ups and things along that nature now. You know, it's things I wasn't able to do before. So I'm improving, and I'm looking forward to where this might end up going. So, as you can see, I have blabbered enough to talk my way into almost finishing the grouping of Legos that I grabbed and placed in this tray to begin with. So I think we will go ahead and be able to get through these. I'm not going to add any more. We'll be able to get through this grouping. And then we'll move on to the next step, which we are nearing the end of the process. So there is not much longer. There's only going to be a delay of a day as I show you, you know, the final results after drying. So this will lag on to another day, but the video is nearing its end, because the next few processes are very quick, not as long as this one. So my wife, while we're getting to the end of this, my wife showed me a video today, I think that was done by Business Insider, on Lego. And, you know, going over why people think Legos are so expensive. And it was a very interesting video. Touched on a lot of good points that I would say of the millennial age, maybe some of the end of Gen X, but the Millennial Age. Touched on a lot of good points, you know, the background of the Lego company, where it had failed in the past in certain areas and where it started picking up again, and then where adults got involved, which is where I'm at, right? Because I'm not necessarily playing with these. I am making creations or sort, you know, doing this process. But, you know, they referred to them, you know, us adults as AFOLs, which is adult fans of Lego, you know, AFLL. It's a huge community, which is why I mentioned the conventions that I was just talking about. People will take their massive Lego creations, and some of them are really cool. I mean, some people are just... If you got a mechanical background and or a really good understanding of physics, you can make some amazing stuff. I've seen some crazy contraptions, and of course good architectural builds too, you know, things that just look really good. But then I've seen some of those ones that are like the Goldman, oh goodness, gold, it's that contest that is supposed to use like all the different types of energy. Rose Goldman, is that it? Is that it? The Rose Goldman... No, I don't think that's right either. Anyway, it uses, it's a contest sort of thing where you're supposed to use all sorts of different forms of energy to move an object. And obviously a lot of those types of contests end up using Lego because it's so easy to manipulate. Anyway, getting a little sidetracked. So watching that video, it was extremely interesting. I highly recommend you view it. I might try to see if I can post a link on it here, maybe, if not. But if you'd like to see me try to do a reaction to a video like that, just because of how much it touches on my background as well, how and what input I can add in addition to some of the things that didn't necessarily dive into certain things deeply enough, I feel like. But, you know, they had to keep the video so long. See, we're done with this process. So they had to keep the video so long, which is understandable. So they had to get whatever, and it was generally an overall very good video, I feel like. So, but if you want to see me try react to it, maybe add some of my own commentary, leave a note down in the comments, and I will go ahead and do that if that's something that interests other people, because again, I could provide my personal background into that to help, you know, verify or not, you know, disagree with certain things that were said, things along that nature, or just my view on it in general. But anyway, that's it. So we've got our bowl now fully containing a grouping of Legos that are sudsed up. What we are going to do is I'm going to skip, we're going to cut to my tub again, because that's where this next process takes place, and I will show you the rinsing process. So that's where we're going to go next. All right, so here we are back in my ugly baby blue tub. I'd love to get rid of, my wife more so, I think, but what I've got going is basically the shower head going. For this next process, I highly recommend that you make sure you have a, you know, cap or something on the end of the tub, of the drain. Otherwise, there's a good potential that during this process, Legos can fall out or get stuck to something and then try to go down into the drain. And you don't want that, obviously. We want to make sure that any pieces that fall get captured, and so make sure to always try to have a drain cover for this process. Basically, we just take our bowl of Legos, dump it carefully into the colander, make sure to get every single piece. We'll put that to the side. Now we have our colander full of pieces. And basically, I just take the spray head of my shower, just spray all the water real good. This next portion is going to be kind of hard to do while I'm holding the phone, but I try to, you know, move the pieces around as I'm spraying them. So just imagine me doing that. I'm going to put the head back and I'm going to move them around my hand. Yeah. I move them around, make sure to get the plates under, the larger plates undersides tend to trap soap in their in the stud areas. So you got to make sure you flip them over. Large plates, large bricks. That's what you want to do. And then once you do that, spray it again. Give all the bricks a good rinse. Do it as many times as you feel like it's necessary. I'll go ahead and shut my water off now because I don't need it anymore. And then, nice thing about the colander is you just shake it. This is the part where I'm going to stop shaking it for a second so I talk. This is the part where you're likely to drop some Legos into the tub. So that's why I say it's good to have that drain cover. So. The shaking is just to try to get rid of much of the excess water as possible. And then we will take this back into my room. Sorry, my finger was in the camera there for a second. We'll take this back into my office and I'll show you the final portion. So here we are back in my office. Back onto the table with the towel. There's a big reason for that. Basically, I take the colander full of Legos and I dump it onto the table like so. Make sure to get all the Legos that kind of tend to stick to the edges of the colander. You know, the Legos, if they trap water within their studs, they'll actually stick to one another, and it's kind of annoying, but also funny. You know, in that they have that water has that suction ability. It is one of the amazing things about water. But it also could be a pain in the butt when it comes to Legos. All right, so this last process that I do is only to help speed up the drying process, because otherwise, like you'll see here, this brick's got water trapped in all three of its cylindrical, you know, the stud locations, the center cylinders. That water will take 3 or 4 days to come out, depending upon, you know, the humidity in the air that's around, of course, and then the movement of the air. Obviously, I'm trying to do this as quickly as possible. So the best thing for me to do is to get that water out of there. And usually I'll just tap it onto the table like so. And look, the water is gone. Now, it's not fully dry. That's why we'll put it to the side. I put all the bricks to the side like so. Make sure that's in view. No, kind of. There we go. All right, so it's in view now. So I go through all of these pieces, and usually, you know, I'll knock any pieces that I feel are trapping water. Pieces that aren't trapping water as much, I don't care about. Like this little piece, don't care about. So I'll put that to the side, move it to the side. I don't go through them one by one. I kind of, you know, scoot through these pieces, but I just tap every single one that typically has a cylinder or has any form or way of trapping water. Pieces like this that are like a 1x2 will not trap water. It seems to only happen onto 1x1 pieces. So, for example, this piece right here, this is the one I was looking for. This will tend to trap water all the way inside of it. Now, this one doesn't have it because the shake process probably did a really good job of getting rid of the water inside of there. But I've encountered, you know, a number of these when I'm doing this where there's water all the way up to the top of this. And so when you go to tap it, I mean, water just goes everywhere, but that's why the towel's there. So I do that with all of those types of bricks. I also do it to plates as much as possible to get rid of the water that's trapped inside of the stud locations. I just do a light tap, you know, you can see most of the water's now come out. There's a few stud locations that still have water, but most of the studs have come out, or yeah, studs have come out. Water has come out of the studs. And then again, I just place it to the side. So I do it to most of the bigger bricks. You know, I don't care about little plates like that, this 2x3. It's just the bigger ones because they take the longest to dry. The little ones will dry. Things like this, water doesn't tend to get trapped in here. And again, it's something to do with the cylindrical nature of the studs. The interior, you know, that the water could just sit in there like that. anyway, so we're gonna go through this real quick. I'm gonna tap the pieces, move them to the side, and I turn them upside down because then I know they've been looked at. Now, with 4x6 like this, you can tap it. A little harder to do because of its size. You could just throw it onto the towel, get rid of the, but these will dry fairly quickly. It's your larger pieces that tend to not dry so quickly. And during the drying process, what I do is I just turn on my office fan and I let it sit overnight. By the time I come back in the morning, the pieces are pretty much dry. So as you can see, got rid of all the water that's in there. This one has a little bit of water in this, but tap it. So that one has water in the center, tap it. You just do that for any of the ones that tend to, this will trap water in there, but again, because this is such a little piece, this water will evaporate fairly quickly. It really comes down to the larger pieces, the pieces that will end up trapping them. It will take longer to dry, which is, well, actually the water came out of that one like crazy. I've never had that happen before. Maybe the shaking process, no, I probably didn't do as good of a job as I normally do just because of trying to do it while holding a camera. But anyway, so we just do this for all the pieces that hold water. And I stick them in a, like so that way I know I've already taken care of them. Let me move these out of the way somewhere. There we go. Here. That way I can move these Legos further away so I can get to the ones I need to get to in this pile. Sometimes it'll come out all in one tap. Sometimes it takes a few taps. But you don't have to do this. You could just scooch them all over to the side, stick a dehumidifier in a small location or something like that. There's many ways of drying that could take quicker or, easier to deal with. More efficient, that's the word I was looking for. This is what I do. Because three bowlfuls will typically fill up my whole table here. That's why I typically also just stick with 3. See, water got trapped all the way down in there. You could see. I hope you saw the water that came out of that brick. You could see the towel starting to get really wet at that location where I'm tapping the bricks. And there's an amazing amount of water that can get trapped in these things, which is again why I do this. Because if I didn't, it would take a few days to get the bricks dry, and we don't have time to wait a few days. We want to be able to take care of these bricks tomorrow so that I can go get started on the next batch of washing. That's if I was going to do that, but I'm not. The next video that's coming out of this channel is going to be something new. Still related to caring for bricks though, but something new. My wife hates this process because usually by the time I get to this process, it's later at the evening, and she's trying to go to bed. And so trying to do this quietly is a little more difficult. Okay, granted, my table's got metal in it, it vibrates. It's not the most sturdiest of tables, but I think knocking on any table of any sort is going to create some decent amount of sound. Which is why I tend to do this in my office with the door closed as much as possible. Got a piece trapped in here. Where's that one thing we had earlier you could use to get the pieces out? Get the rest of this water. But all right, so I pretty much close to the end of it. I just brush through it again quickly. Also, by doing this, you know, by brushing through this like I'm doing, gets rid of more water that's trapped in some of these other smaller bricks. So I will do this. Oh, see, we missed one. But looks like I got pretty much all of them. And where's that one piece I was looking for? Oh, maybe this will just fall out. Nope. I can use this sword to get it out. Come on. There we go. All right. So this will now sit overnight. And tomorrow morning, or even tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow, whatever, we can just sort these bricks. These bricks will be dry because I'll turn on my fan up above with the air circulating the way it is. Now that I've knocked the water out of most of these other bricks, there's some fuzz still trapped on that brick for some reason. These bricks will be, you know, spreading these out evenly in a thin layer as much as possible. These bricks will be dry by tomorrow. And then I will show you that. And then at that point, I sort them. I'm not going, and by sort them, I mean sort them into their final containers. And I tend to sort, again, by color, just because of the limited amount of room that I have. But in this case, because I'm going to try to resell these, I think I'm going to probably just, we'll see. We'll see what I'm going to do. That's what I was looking for earlier. I may just combine them back all together and sell them per pound. I may try selling type by type. I don't know yet. That's the portion of this experiment that I'm still performing myself. But anyway, we're going to leave this video here at this point. Come back tomorrow morning. I'll show you that they're dry and what they look like, you know, and then that'll be it. That's the end of the wash process, basically. So we'll see you tomorrow. Well, brick fans, it's the next morning. It's about, I don't know, 10:30-ish a.m. here. As you can see, the bricks are dry. You look at the bricks, you know, there's basically what you look for is trapped water, which tends to happen in nooks and crannies, as well as when you do have a layer of Legos like this. Some of the lower layer items can still tend to have water within the little stud hole areas or whatnot, but these are all dry. So, you know, at this point, if we look at all these other ones, they look good, nice and dry. There's just some fuzz in there, but you know, you see how clean, especially plates. Look how shiny they are. Maybe if I get it a little closer, you could see better. But, and then of course with the electronic ones, we were just trying to just get a little surface scrub on them. But you know, at this point then, what I would do is I would sort these by, in my setup for right now, I have to sort these by color if I'm going to sort them. But if you're doing by type or whatever, you could do that, or you could throw them all into a bin, whatever. But at this point, they're done. That's the end of the process. So, yep, that's how I clean my Legos. And you know, yeah, it's time consuming, but I think well worth it. All right, well, we'll hopefully see you in the next video. Hopefully you learned something and enjoyed it, and we'll see you later. Bye.